was approximately 12:15 on a Thursday afternoon when I entered the Johnson County Community Health Clinic. I was there for an appointment I recently set up. Nothing serious, just a routine checkup to see if everything was still as it should. So, the place was new to me to say the least. However, the place always gave me a somewhat nostalgic feel to it. I don't know why. I've never been here during my childhood, or at least not to my knowledge. I decided to just go with it and leave it in the back of my mind, as it wasn't my top priority at the moment anyways. As expected, as soon as I entered the complex, a strong sense of déjà vu cascaded down my senses. I heard a gentle yet quite loud hum of flickering fluorescent lights above while I made my way to the waiting area, accompanied by a floor with white tiling as well as beige-colored walls with a peculiar tapestry pattern on it. The waiting area wasn't any different, well, other than a small flat-screen TV monitor that was mounted in the corner of the area, constantly playing a loop of ads that revolved around online medical help as well as events held by the clinic. I passed the small space, which furthermore only contained the usual amenities of a waiting room, such as magazines, children's playthings. You know, the last resort things you'd pass your time with if you'd forget to bring your BlackBerry phone along. I approached a woman seated at the front desk. She was sitting in her bluish-grey office chair, looking at a spreadsheet on the same Windows XP desktop they've probably had since 2008. "Good afternoon, sir. How may I help?" the lady murmured in a weird, almost elderly tone. "Good afternoon, ma'am. I have an appointment with Dr. Peebens," I said in a questioning tone. "What time?" 12:30, I replied, after which she began typing something on her keyboard. "Ah, yes," she responded. "Gary Johnston?" "Mm-hmm." "Yes, I'll be sure to notify the doctor. Please fill out this form and take a seat in the waiting area." She proceeded to hand me a clipboard which held a simple fill-out form. I did as I was told. I took a seat and began to fill it out. I soon finished, and I decided to just take a breather while waiting for the doctor. I hadn't gotten much sleep the night prior, and I caught myself occasionally slumping back in my chair. It took me a while before I noticed something rather peculiar. I was pretty sure that the chair was close enough to the wall for my head to hit it with its backside, yet it never did. In fact, it felt like my head was partly inside the wall. I stood up in a rush of adrenaline, shocked and worried that I somehow had accidentally made a dent in the wall when my head slumped backwards. But there was nothing. The wall was completely fine. I reached out to gently stroke over the wall and noticed that my fingers suddenly went through. It was as if the wall was a mere hologram and not actually a real wall. I recoiled in shock. What the hell was that? I thought to myself as I reached out to touch the wall again, only to find my fingers going through once more. I got curious and gently put the chair closer to the wall. I then knelt upon the chair and used the backrest to keep somewhat of a hold. I then decided to gently push my head through. I know, it might have been a stupid idea, but curiosity simply won the better of me, and I had to know. I thought that if I went through, maybe I would just simply see another section of the hospital, or perhaps just the outside. What I saw, however, unsettled me, to say the least. The complex that was covered up behind this quote-unquote wall seemed to contain rooms. No, not really rooms, more a set of rooms. It's difficult to explain. It looked like an unfinished building. The entire scenery was a maze-like structure that was made up of segmented unfinished rooms that were weirdly connected to one another with large openings between them. The floor was now made up of a quite damp looking carpet that radiated a quite overwhelming stench, similar to that of a wet dog. The only thing that was about the same were the wallpapers, now tan patterned with a somewhat similar pattern as in the hospital. Larger fluorescent light panels were also present, however the hum coming from them was almost annoyingly loud. As I tried to look more and more into the strange manifold in front of me, I suddenly felt my chair tumble over. Being unable to hold onto the walls, I fell through completely, accidentally kicking my chair away in the process. My beliefs were correct as my body suddenly became just as moist as the carpet beneath. I groaned a little and stood up, at least now being able to take a somewhat closer look at the whole ordeal in front of me. I slowly walked forward, taking a peek around a few corners only to see more and more passages leading to all kinds of directions. It weirded me out a little, and I asked myself, why is this place so big yet so empty at the same time? And how come nobody before me figured this out already? That's when a thought creeped into my mind. What if people did know about it, but simply weren't able to tell the tale? My eyes darted back at the wall from which I came and I rushed over, trying to go back through. However, this time, my hand made full contact with the wall as my fear became more real by each second. Okay, what the fuck? I muttered. I looked around unsure of what to do. The way back was gone, so I guess the only option was to venture forward. At least, if you want to call it that. Since after just 10 minutes of both walking, running, twisting and turning, I ended up in places that constantly looked the same. Even just walking in as much of a singular direction as possible left me wondering if I was secretly just running around in circles. Time felt like it was non-existent, and I started to get more and more lost, being unable to tell any corridor apart. That's when I started to hear footsteps in the distance. The steps weren't normal. They were somewhat heavy and light at the same time, and the way that that thing walked was unlike any human I've ever heard. I'm pretty sure I heard a gurgling snarl accompanying the steps, like a hungry animal sniffed my scent and was now trying to find its prey. I wanted to cry out for help, but I knew that it would only make it worse, so I ran, getting ever more lost within this never-ending maze. Eventually, I stumbled and caught my breath as I held onto a wall. I collapsed onto the ground, defeated, crying as I sat against the wall, while a feeling of dread filled my body. I tried to comfort myself, ensuring that someday people would notice that I'm gone. Someday they would start looking for me. Dear God. Eventually I was going to be saved, right? But I wasn't. Which leaves us where we are right now. It's been what felt like days now, and I'm still here. I haven't left. I haven't been able to. And I've accepted my fate. I'm leaving my story behind, so at least others can make it out, or at least have a chance. So, if you're listening to this, heed my warning well. If you're not careful, and like within a video game, clip out of the bounds of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in what I've come to call the Backrooms. A place of what seems to be infinite length, considering of nothing but randomly segmented empty rooms. May God have mercy on your soul if you hear something wandering about nearby, because trust me, if this thing has heard me from so far away, it'll sure as hell has also heard you. In fact, I can already start to hear the footsteps of that thing again. Much clearer than usual. I could run away, of course, but I don't want to anymore.